What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for being here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff we love to talk about, including movies, video games, comic books, TV shows. And right now, I want to give you guys my thoughts on Survivor Winners at War, episode 13. And this was kind of the first episode in a while that, while Tony was completely in control, he wasn't completely safe. And it turns out that didn't matter, that he wasn't completely safe, because he is completely in control of what goes on. Let's talk about Jeremy. Jeremy has the moment where he does not want to go along with Tony's plan. So what does Tony do? Tony votes Jeremy out, and Tony gets his alliance to vote Jeremy out. Now, that probably wasn't so hard to do because people have been itching to get rid of Jeremy for a while. But they still got him out. And it was Tony's call. So again, Tony's in control of what's happening here. And I was fascinated by the Michelle dynamic in that. Did she want to try to save Jeremy? Did she not want to try to save Jeremy? Where does Michelle fit into all this? Michelle she seems to be not really on anybody's radar so much. She's gotten some votes. She got some votes on the last episode. But she's not really anybody's primary target. Even though she's constantly voting against the majority or just completely left out of what the majority is doing. So I don't think Michelle's playing a good game. I think she's making it to the end. Maybe not to the final three, but even though I do think she's going to go to the final three, nobody's going to vote for her. But she's making it to the end of the game based on the fact that, number one, there's bigger threats. Number two, nobody's going to vote for her for the $2 million. A lot of people play Survivor that way. That's what Michelle's doing. She used her 50-50. She got it right. And, she flipped good, so she was safe. Thought about saving Jeremy, decided against it. And that just kind of shows you that she wasn't really interested in saving her alliance. She's playing a one more day game. I gotta be here tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'll worry about being here the next day. Then the next day I'll worry about being here the next day. That's how she's playing. Sarah, Ben, and Tony. There's been rumors floating around social media, YouTube, that Sarah, Ben, and Tony had a pre-game alliance. I think that's looking more and more to be true. The deeper we get into this, I think the more obvious it is that was true, that they did have a pre-game alliance. They've had plenty of opportunities to turn on each other, and they haven't. Sarah has had excuses to turn on Tony, and she hasn't. So I clearly think that there's those rumors of a pre-game alliance are 100% accurate. I think that they are what they say that they are. I think that those pre-game alliances exist. Sarah, Ben, and Tony. Especially given the fact that Ben should have probably been out weeks ago. He's very scatterbrained in the way that he plays. I don't think Ben's playing a good game. He's very scatterbrained. He's all over the place. Nobody can really rely on him. And there's some days where you think maybe Ben checked out. And then other days it looks like he's playing hard again. So Ben is definitely a hard read, but I don't think he's playing well. And I think if he does make it to the end, nobody's going to vote for the guy. Who is a real risk to win right now. Probably Tony's biggest threat, and I don't think it's Sarah. I don't think Sarah's built a big enough resume this season to win. But who has built a big enough resume and who is extremely likable is Denise. I think she's the next that Tony has to get rid of. Tony has got to get rid of Denise now. Because she's also a challenge threat. She's somebody who could win her way to the end. So Tony has got to take care of Denise now, sooner rather than later. Denise does have a resume. Denise took out Sandra. So he's got to get rid of her. So after Jeremy got taken out, Nick was the next on the block. I think the writing was on the wall for that one as well. And Nick had his opportunities to go with a different group, didn't really seize those opportunities. And for a season called Winners at War, it just seems like some people didn't bring the level of gameplay that you would expect them to bring. Tony did. This is the best Tony's ever played. But most of the people left in the game at this point, out of the 5 people left in the game, Tony is just heads and shoulders above everybody else in terms of their gameplay. You know, Sarah's playing with Tony. Ben isn't playing well. Michelle isn't playing well. And Denise has a resume. Denise is playing well. And I think Denise is... But I said Denise is the biggest threat to Tony right now. I still think Tony has played a better game than Denise has. Denise has been playing from the bottom a lot. So has Michelle. Tony's been playing from the top. So Tony's been in control. Denise has been playing from the bottom and trying to stay in the game. So yeah, I think this is Tony's game to lose. I honestly do. I think that the writing's on the wall for Tony to win this season. Let's talk about the Edge. They had to spend their fire tokens. You know, we saw Jeremy get sent to the... But let's back up. Speaking of Jeremy, when Jeremy got voted out, did you guys notice when Jeremy got voted out, he said, "Who did it?" And Tony said, "I'm sorry, bro." Tony owned it. Now, Jeremy was like, "Big mistake, man." But I don't think so. I think that was just something Jeremy said in the heat of the moment. In the heat of the moment, he said, "Big mistake." Because I fully believe that Tony owning that move will pay off in dividends later on. I believe that. If he makes it to the final 3, I believe that him owning that is going to pay big dividends. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jeremy's the type to be a bitter player, a bitter jury member, but I don't think so. I really think that Jeremy's the type to respect good gameplay. Let's go back to the Edge. Jeremy gets sent to the Edge. Nick gets sent to the Edge. And let me talk about one of the problems I have with the Edge. A lot of the problems with the Edge are well documented, right? Whoever gets back at the end of the game, if they can somehow make it to the final 3, they have formed bonds with everybody else. And in a lot of ways, they're not responsible for voting anybody else out that's there. You know, you look at Natalie. Natalie's not responsible for voting anybody out. And she's had time to make bonds with every single person on that island. Every single person on the jury, she's had time to make bonds with in ways that the players in the game have not. Amber, same. You know, she didn't get anybody voted out, and she's had nothing but time to make friends. Let's talk about another aspect, though. Natalie has had nothing but time to save fire tokens. Nothing but time to save fire tokens. Nick and Jeremy, they haven't even had any opportunities to get any fire tokens. They can't buy any advantages. Natalie, she's been there since day 1. Since day 1. So she has had nothing but time and opportunity to save up fire tokens. Now, granted, a lot of that is due to her playing hard on the Edge. But she's had nothing but time. And she hasn't had to stab anybody in the back. She hasn't had to make anybody mad at her. All she's had to do is find fire tokens. And that gives her an advantage into the return challenge that Nick and Jeremy and Kim and some of these other players that were recently voted out, they don't have. I got a problem with that. I would have a major issue with Natalie or Amber or anybody voted out pre-merge. Even Rob. And I love Rob. Rob is my favorite all-time player. But even Rob or Parv, I would have an issue with any of them winning this. I would, because they have not been playing the game. They've been doing Edge of Extinction, and that's part of the game. But they have had an unfair advantage to everybody else as far as working the jury. Everybody in the game can't work the jury to the same extent that the people on the Edge can. And I don't think that's fair. But that was something that came with Winners at War. Jeff Probst has been very open about that, you know, that he had to make sure that everybody knew that there would be multiple chances to get back into the game. I get it. I get it. Don't like it, but I get it. So, yeah, 2-hour episode. It was a pretty predictable episode. I think the writing on the wall was there for Jeremy and Nick. And now we had a 15-minute extended preview of, well, it wasn't really a preview. It was a prelude to next episode with the Get Back In challenge. Amber had a really nice, poignant moment. Probably my favorite moment from Amber all season long was her speech that she gave. And we got to get a little more insight from some of the people on the edge, what getting back in would mean to them, et cetera, et cetera. And they go off to their challenge. And that'll probably be the opening of the season finale, will be the return challenge. But I don't think it's going to be, if it's not Natalie, because she has an unfair advantage over everybody, I think it's going to be somebody who's new school. I just have a gut feeling. My gut is telling me Kim or Wendell. My gut is telling me it's going to be Kim or Wendell to get back in the game. I just have a feeling, guys. I just have a feeling it's one of those two. We'll see if I'm right. I don't think it's going to be Natalie, honestly. My gut is telling me Kim or Wendell. My gut's usually wrong, unless it's dinner time. So all right, guys. I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much for joining me here at the LQ Review. What did you think of this last episode of Survivor? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And as always, I appreciate you joining me right here, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you later.